Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, if you're going to do it like men. 1, 2, 3. See there? They can always go to another level. You can be seated. I was listening to you and the others talk about influence, and the goal is to influence at least 6 men. But the greatest influence we have is in prayer. And if you want to influence 6 men, you got to pray and find out from God who the 6 men are that qualify to be that one man who will make a difference. Isn't that what Pastor Ennis talked about in Ezekiel 22:30? Yeah. Would one man have made a difference in the judgment of Israel? Yeah, and he couldn't find one. And so this was one of the things in the beginning that Pastor Watkins asked me, and the years of ministry and relationships with churches, is to, since I'm ordained but I don't have a church per se, but he asked me to use the influence through the relationships that I had. And God was beginning to develop a relationship with a pastor who was a doer and not just a hearer only. And this man traveled with me, translated, interpreted, although I found out he was really more of an editor than an interpreter. He would change the message to what the people really understand. And that pastor is Pastor Joaquin Molina from Spring of Life Church in Miami, Florida, who flew up today and is flying back tonight. And I introduced him to Pastor Watkins, the ministry, the vision, and he became involved. He became intrigued when Jordan Ranch started and the intense conferences started. This one man, I don't remember if it was the first year or not, but at least by the second year, from Miami, Florida, they chartered 2 buses, 1,800 miles, 24 hours of driving. I believe 92 men came. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's influence.
That is influence.
But what if I'd just got some other pastors, talked them into coming, up from Dallas in that area, which I did. But isn't it interesting that only one out of those I had relationships with had the resolve and the conviction and the background and backbone to put feet to his words. And so it's interesting, the first intense conference was when I first got gangrene in my foot, and this is a man that flew up to the hospital. I was in the hospital 21 days. I only went by the emergency room to get a shot in my foot so I could go on up and do commissioning in Michigan. They go, no, you got gangrene in your foot. You're going to die if we don't amputate your leg. So he flies up, brings Rose, she doesn't even know who they're going to see. Now you talk about submission. She didn't know till they walked in the hospital room. They flew up to see me. I went in on Thursday. He came up Friday. And he said, where are you at spiritually? Because he knew this was devastating to me personally. The potential and the fear that the enemy puts in you of all the potential God's shown you and used in your life to touch others. And he's lying all day long to you, saying, it's done. You're through. It's over. You'll never be the same. Been traveling 300 days a year, ministering all over the world. And he walked in and he asked me, where are you at spiritually? And I thought a minute, and I remembered in the beginning when He came to Dr. Cole over 20 years ago. Came to the office, had an appointment, said, God's told me to start a church. How do I do that? And Ed Cole said, build it on men. You disciple men. And that'll be the foundation, the backbone of the ministry. So he left and he did that. And when, as we developed our relationship through Dr. Cole's ministry and together, we got to know each other better and become not only brothers but friends. And he said, Jack, I want you to get on this train and ride with me. If that's what you want, let's get on this train and ride. And that came back to me in that moment of laying in that hospital bed. And I said, I'm just building up steam. I may be here for 3 weeks. And he goes, good. I need you to make a promo video from that hospital bed for this first Intense Men Conference. So, you remember that?
Now I do. Yeah.
I was going to check and see if they still have it. They probably don't. I'm laying in a hospital bed. My son-in-law is in TV production, electronic. He brings video crew, lights, stands, everything in the hospital. I'm wired up. I've got IVs everywhere. Like, it was amazing. And we filmed a commercial. And he sent it out to churches. Many of you guys remember that? I know Pastor Ennis, Pastor Robert, you were still here. And I have churches, that I'll run into and I go, I know you. You were in a hospital. Yeah, I know. I remember. But it's amazing when we don't realize that the greatest influence that we can have on others is through prayer and using what God has already done in your life. Wars and battles will always be there. Will you be prepared? That's what Intense Men, that's what today, that's what this covenant of pastors is all about, is preparation. Because if you're not ready, when it's battle time, you lose. Thank you.